First, we import TensorFlow as TF. Then we print out the TensorFlow version that we are using. We are using TensorFlow 1.0.1. In this video, we're going to stack a list of TensorFlow tensors of the same rank into one tensor by using TensorFlow.stack. Alright, let's get started. The first tensor we create will be a TensorFlow ones tensor full of ones that are all float 32 numbers. So we use TensorFlow.ones, the shape will be 2 by 3 by 4, and the data type will be float 32. We assign it to the Python variable tf_ones_x_1. Let's print out the tf_ones_x_1 Python variable to see what we have. We see that it's a TensorFlow tensor. TensorFlow gave it a name, the shape is 2 by 3 by 4, and the data type is float 32. Because we haven't run it in the TensorFlow session, right now it doesn't have any values yet. The same thing applies to the other two tensors we're about to create. The second tensor we're going to create is going to be a TensorFlow zeros tensor full of zeros that are all float 32. We use TensorFlow.zeros, the shape is going to be 2 by 3 by 4, the data type is float 32, and we assign it to the Python variable tf_zeros_x. Let's print out the tf_zeros_x Python variable to see what we have. We see that's a TensorFlow tensor, the shape is 2 by 3 by 4, and the data type is float 32. The third tensor we create will be a ones tensor again, only this time we're going to assign it to a different variable. So TensorFlow.ones, the shape is 2 by 3 by 4, the data type is float 32, and we assign it to the Python variable tf_ones_x_2. So it's this last _2 versus the _1 that will differentiate the two Python variables. Let's print out our tf_ones_x2 Python variable to see what we have. We see that it's a TensorFlow tensor, the shape is 2 by 3 by 4, and the data type is float 32. Now that we have created our TensorFlow tensors, it's time to run the computational graph. First, we launch the TensorFlow graph in a session. Then we initialize all the global variables in the graph. In this case, we have 3 TensorFlow tensors that we've defined, so now they are initialized. Let's now print our first TensorFlow tensor full of ones to see what it looks like. So we print the session run tf_ones_x1. We see that it's a 2 by 3 by 4 TensorFlow tensor full of ones that all have decimal points. So that visually designates that all these are float 32 numbers. Next, we print our second TensorFlow tensor that should be full of zeros, 2 by 3 by 4, zeros, decimal points, exactly what we want. And then we print our third TensorFlow tensor full of ones, again, tf_ones_x2, tf_zeros_x, and tf_ones_x1. Those are our 3 tensors. So this one is all ones, decimal points, exactly what we want. Before we use the TensorFlow stack to stack the tensors, let's check the rank of the tensors to make sure they're all the same rank. So we're going to print a session run, and we use TensorFlow.rank, and we pass in our Python variable tf_ones_x1, and we see that the rank is 3. That is, it has 3 dimensions. That's what we expect because it is 2 by 3 by 4, so it has 3 numbers that define the tensor. So because we created all the tensors to be 2 by 3 by 4, we know that all of them will have the rank of 3, so we can stack them up. So when we go to stack them on top of each other, what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a tensor of rank 4. That is 3 tensors of shape 2 by 3 by 4 stacked on top of each other. The way we're going to do that is we're going to use TensorFlow.stack. Then we're going to pass in a Python list of our tensor variables. So tf_ones_x1, tf_zeros_x, and tf_ones_x2. That's going to be evaluated, and we're going to assign that to the Python variable tf_tensor_stack_x. Let's now print the result in a TensorFlow session. So we're going to do a print session run and then our tf tensor stack x. And what we see, if we scroll up a little bit, is we see our first 2 by 3 by 4 tensor, then our second 2 by 3 by 4 tensor, and then our third 2 by 3 by 4 tensor. Great, so we have the 4 tensors stacked up on top of each other. To make sure, let's check the shape of this newly created stacked tensor. So we're going to do a print session run, and we use TensorFlow.shape, and we pass in our tf tensor stack x Python variable, and we see that it is 3, 2, 3, 4. So we have 3 tensors that are 2 by 3 by 4, which is what we expect. And because of that, we know that if we do a print session run and we use the TensorFlow.rank, pass in the tf tensor stack x Python variable, we see that the rank is 4. That is, it has 4 numbers or 4 dimensions. Perfect, we were able to stack our list of 3 TensorFlow tensors. Finally, we close the TensorFlow session to release the TensorFlow resources used within the session. And that is how you stack a list of TensorFlow tensors of the same rank into one tensor by using tf.stack.